So, hello everybody. Today I would like to talk to you a little bit about Wrath of the Righteous, a Pathfinder adventure card game scenario box. Those of you who have played the game or know about the game understand and know that this is a game where you choose a party of characters. You can play the solo or you can play it with other people. And then you send those characters on a quest. So today I'm going to start my first scenario on this, and I did this completely randomly, so if you dislike the cards that I'm showing you, that can't be helped. This is what came out of the box. First we have Alan. He is a male human cavalier. We have Imrika, she's a female half-orc inquisitor, and then we have lastly Sheila, she's a female human paladin. Now when we look at these cards, they are double-sided, and they tell us a couple of things about the character. Number one, here you see a card list. When they are still newbies and haven't leveled up or anything, you choose cards of the following types, in this case weapon, spell, armor, item, ally, and blessing, and the following number go into the deck. So 4 weapons, 1 spell, 3 armor, 1 item, 2 allies, and 4 blessings. Alan has 4 weapons, no spells, 3 armor, 2 items, 3 allies, 3 blessings, plus he gets as a cohort Donahan. And Imrika has 5 weapons, 1 spell, 1 armor, 2 items, 1 ally, and 5 blessings. In addition, each character has what is called a favored card type. So in Imrika's case, that's a weapon or blessing. In Alan's case, that's a weapon. And in Sheila's case, it's a blessing. This is important when you draw your first hand as you set out. One of these needs to be present in the first hand in order for you to play. If not, you have to reshuffle. Here on the other side, you have the skills of each character. So Alan has strength. He rolls a d10, melee, strength d10 plus 2, dexterity d4, constitution d8, intelligence d6, wisdom d6, perception, wisdom plus 1, charisma d8, diplomacy, charisma plus 3. His hand size to begin with is only 4 cards, so it means he gets to draw 4 cards. He's proficient with light armors, heavy armors, and weapons. His special powers are that he may discard a card to add 1 plus its adventure deck number to your check to defeat a non-villain monster. If undefeated, return it to the top of its location deck. Other characters may not play cards or use powers on this check. At the end of your turn, you may recharge any number of weapons. Imrika has a strength of d10. If it's a ranged attack she's running against somebody, it's ranged d10 plus 1. Dexterity d8, constitution d6, intelligence d6, wisdom d4, intelligence d4, wisdom d8, knowledge, wisdom plus 2, divine, wisdom plus 1, charisma d6. Her hand size is 5. She's proficient with light armors and weapons. She may recharge a card that has the divine arranged trait to add 1d4 and the divine and magic traits to her check against monsters. When she defeats a monster on her turn, she may roll a d6. On a 4, 5, or 6, she may explore her location for free again. Lastly, we have Sheila. Sheila has a d8 for strength, and her melee is d8 plus 3, dexterity d4, constitution d8, fortitude, constitution plus 1, intelligence d4, wisdom d8, divine wisdom plus 1, charisma d10, diplomacy, charisma plus 1. She has a hand size of 4, is proficient with light armors, heavy armors, weapons. When she attempts a check before she acts, she may use her charisma skill instead of any listed skill. She may discard the top card of her deck to add d6 to any check by a character at her location. When she acquires a boon that has the corrupted trait, she can bury it. So these are the 3 heroes that I will be playing with, and I'm going to show you their decks in a second. What you do is you take a look at the back of your character, and then you count the number of weapons and you take them from the box: spells, the same armor, items, allies, etc. Or you can also do what I did, you just go with what they say in the back of the PDF with regard to who gets what, and that's what I did. So basically Sheila will start out with Cure as a spell, 4 Blessings of Ascension. In weapons she has a mace, a quarterstaff, a long spear and a long sword. So she has 1 recruit as an ally and a riding horse as an ally. She gets the Holy Water Grenade. When I saw this, I had to think of Monty Python straight away as her item. And she has 3 items of armor: scale mail, wooden shield, and helm. So this is her deck to start out with. Next up, we have Imrika. Now Imrika gets the following in terms of armor: the hide armor, so she's not really heavily armored. She gets 5 weapons: javelin, shortbow, mace, sickle and the heavy pick. She gets the researcher ally. She gets 5 blessings of ascension. She gets a caltrip bead and the sage's journal as her items, and detect a demon as her spell. So that's her deck, sorry. And lastly we have Aline, who gets a scale mail, a wooden shield and a helm, a riding horse, an athlete and a recruit as his allies, caltrop beads and ring of climbing, 3 blessings of ascension, and lastly his weapons consist of sickle, long sword, long spear, heavy pick, and he also gets a cohort, and that is his trusted steed Donohan. So this is now what our heroes will carry with them when we send them on their merry way. Next up, I will put together the decks for the first part of this journey, and I'll be back. So the adventure we're going to play is called Into the World Wound. So basically this is set in the world wound in the world that we're playing, and I'm going to talk about the world a little more in detail later. And in order to play this adventure, what you have to do is you have to complete the scenarios that are listed here in this order. So the first scenario is the Godless Ones. That's followed by the Elven Entanglement, the Wardstone Patrol, the Traitor's Lodge, Vengeance at Sundered Crag. And during this adventure, the Servitor Demon is the Henchman Demonling. So this becomes important later on. And each character gains a card feat if you go through all of these and complete the adventure. The background to this adventure reads as follows. On the fringes of the wastelands, life goes on. People live in fear of the horrors of the night, but they still proceed with their daily routines, hoping to see the next day. The hopeful place their faith in the Crusaders of Iomedae. She's a goddess in this world. Heroes who patrol the world wound in search of any horrific thing that might prey upon the innocent. But on the road to the world wound, you won't find a lot of people who trust that things will go well. Maybe you can change that. So basically, when we look at this card, it tells us that we have to face the scenario, the Godless Ones. And here is the information about this scenario, the Godless Ones. You can see here that you have a list of players on the left from 1 through 6. And depending on the number of players, and in this case, this is actually more accurately the number of characters, you have to then choose the location. So first of all, we have 3 characters, so we have to choose the Forsaken Cloister, the Manor House, the Marketplace, the Armory, and the Watchtower. So what you do is you select those cards, those location cards, and I've done this here already. So here you see the Armory, here you have the Forsaken Cloister, you have the manor house, you have the marketplace, and lastly we have the watchtower. Now each of these has a really nice image on it. At least I find the art quite appealing. It has information. At this location you may summon and defeat a random monster instead of the normal check to acquire a boon. So if I acquire a boon, or if I draw a card, for example, when I go to the location, and the location deck's top card is, let's say, a quarterstaff of vaulting, which is a weapon, so it's a boon, I could try to obtain it by defeating a check, or meeting a check and passing a check. But if I think, for example, if I take this quarterstaff, and it says here, you have to have a strength check of a strength melee of 9 or acrobatic 6. And if I have a character who's neither very strong nor very acrobatic, but I still want this quarterstaff of vaulting, I can choose to, instead of trying any of these two checks, to defeat a monster, which I draw randomly from the box, and then get the boon instead of having to pass these checks. In order to close this location, you have to banish a weapon. So one of your characters has to actually sacrifice one of their weapons. And on closing, you also draw a random weapon from the box. So you might want to get rid of one of the weapons that isn't so important to you, and instead gain a random one. But it also, and this is very important, shows the deck list. So each location is basically a pack of cards that you have to put together. And this deck list says, at the watchtower you can encounter 2 monsters, 1 barrier, 2 weapons, no spells, 2 armors, no items, 2 allies, and no blessings. So how this now works is I have to sit down and go through this list and put together the deck. And I'm going to do this in real time so that you see how this works. First of all, I take my monster deck from the box. This is the monster deck. I'm going to shuffle it. And I'm going to randomly select two cards. 1, 2. So these are my 2 monsters that I will encounter at the watchtower. Then I have to put in 1 barrier, so I'll just put my hand into my barriers pack, and I'm just going to draw 1 barrier randomly. You have to get 2 weapons. I'm just going to put my hand in the weapons deck. I'm going to draw 2 random weapons, 2 armor, one armor, 2 armor, 0 items, 2 allies, so taking out the ally deck because I've never shuffled them before, because I alphabetized them when I did the check for completeness. 1 and 2 allies. And 0 blessings. So now my deck should consist of 2, 3, 5, 7, 9 cards. Let's see if this is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've got 9 cards. That is correct. And now what you have to do, of course, now is to shuffle the deck completely, because obviously when you draw cards from the same type, you need to now ensure that it is randomized to a certain degree, which can be a little bit tough, especially since the cards are sleeved, and sleeved cards usually shuffle really badly. But like I said again yesterday, you have to sleeve them, because first of all there are errata which you need to put in there, and secondly, if you don't sleeve them, they will wear really quickly. So this is now the location deck for the watchtower. I've just completed it and I've placed it here. So watchtower, location deck, done. And now you have to do this for every single of these locations, and I'm going to do this. and I'll be back when I'm done. We have now the different locations up here, 5 different location decks, which, well, I made a mistake on one of them, so I had to redo them. So it's really something that you would like to prepare and check. And now, lastly, what we have to do is we have to check this condition here, which reads, the henchman, the villain is Sofini, so this is a character that we need to draw from the box. And the henchmen that support her are the Blackfire Adept, the Zeus to Daimon, and Cultists of Baphomet. So basically you go to the henchman part of your box and you take out the relevant henchmen. So here we have Sofini. We also have the Blackfire Adept. And we have the Zeus to Daimon. So these are 3 cards. We have 5 locations. Now what happens is you put the villain and the henchman into the location decks, 1 each. So basically then you have to draw 2 Cultists of Baphomet. They're both identical, so that you draw up to the number of locations that you have, which in this case is 5. So now I'm going to just put them in there. We have taken the last step, which is to create the starting hands for each character. So Alan has a starting hand of 4, and his preferred card or favorite card is a weapon. So he's got 2 weapons. He also gets a 5th card, his cohort. So his actual starting hand is 4 plus a cohort, which he's got now. Imrika's starting hand is 5, and her favorite card is either a blessing or a weapon. So she has a blessing of ascension, which makes, and a short bow, so it's doubly correct. And here we have Sheila, and her favorite card is a blessing, which she also has, and she's got a starting hand of 4. So she has a helm, wooden shield, cure, and blessing. So what now happens is we have to make a decision where we want to go. And then we send our characters, or rather their little avatars here, to that location by basically just placing them there. So if I say Sheila wants to go to the armory, she will just walk there, or walk there. Alan can go wherever he wants. Let's say he wants to go to the marketplace because he's really into shopping, which actually he's not. And Imrika, she's an inquisitor, so she's going to be really inquisitive, and she's going to talk to people in the Forsaken Cloister. So she would go there. And then what happens on their turn, they start exploring by drawing cards. And this is basically the setup phase of this game. And then you can start playing. So, hello everybody. Here's a quick update on my the Godless Ones scenario playthrough. One thing I forgot was, of course, that in order to set up the scenario, you also have to create the Blessings deck, which is essentially your turn track. So we are, I would say, probably 10 turns into the scenario. Sheila has already closed the Forsaken Cloister, and Aline and Imrika together have gone to the Watchtower, which is full of kind of full of monsters. It's got the most monsters in the whole scenario anyway, and have closed this as well. We haven't found the villain yet, but we have defeated 2 henchmen. So now Sheila is in the armory, and it's her turn, and we will see where Alan and Imrika go next. At the moment, I have to say that it's quite a challenge to play this game. It's by no means easy. I'm losing most of my checks, which of course makes it interesting. So that's all from me for the moment, and let's talk soon.